What is going on, H-Town? Hope y'all have a very blessed day, and let's have a little bit of fun. Let's talk about the potential starting offense for the Houston Texans, which will feature 6 brand new starters, a new play caller, and a franchise quarterback who you just selected number 2 overall. There is a lot to talk about for this offense. There is a lot to be excited for. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 713 Houston Sportcast. I drop daily Houston Texans content. Follow me on Twitter at 713HSP. Now, without further ado, this offense will be led by new offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, who came with DeMeco Ryans from the San Francisco 49ers. There were some reports that during the Houston Texans OTAs, which was happening, right around the same time of the draft, that not only was DeMeco Ryans, kind of moving around with both sides of the ball, but he was mostly on the defensive side, kind of letting Bobby Slowick work. Also, we heard some great things about John Mechie and his return from cancer. He was a 100% participation at OTA, so that is great to see. Hopefully, we see a potential comeback player of the year in John Mechie. But when you talk about the starting offense for the Houston Texans, it starts with your quarterback, and that is C.J. Stroud, who is winning me over every single day, right? I did not expect this amount of leadership coming from him. And what I mean by that, right, in the opening day at the draft party, he mentioned Will Anderson before himself. He's already on Instagram talking to his teammates. Apparently, he went to the Houston Texans during draft night and told them to go get a player, which they inevitably did, and that player was Tank Dell, right? According to some rumors that C.J. Stroud and Nathaniel Dell got really close during the NFL Combine, and after C.J. Stroud was taken number 2 overall, he had a conversation with Dell. He goes to Nick Caserio and says, go get Tank, and that is exactly what the Houston Texans did. And he was only and he just became our franchise quarterback, and he's already making moves. You love to see that from C.J. Stroud, man. I am excited to what he is going to do here on Sundays. Training camp, preseason, it cannot come fast enough. The Houston Texans are going to be must-see TV, and hopefully he could wear number 7. Your offensive line, from left to right, it goes Laramie Tunsil, who you just made the highest paid left tackle. It is Kenyon Green, who when we saw him at the draft party, he did look a little bit slimmer and toner, according to our boy Harley Dugan. Your center will now be Juice Scruggs, who you just drafted in the 2nd round. You had to trade up for him, right? Because your 33rd overall was sent to Will Anderson. But now Juice Scruggs is the center for this Houston Texans team. Apparently, this has been Bobby Slowick's guy from day one. So here we are. Your center quarterback combo is Juice Scruggs, and he will be snapping the ball to C.J. Stroud for the next 10 years. Your right guard is Shaq Mason, who you traded for from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who last year didn't allow a single sack. And your right tackle, Titus Howard, entering his contract year. You already know he is going to ball out. Now, overall, I think the offensive line is going to be one of the biggest bright spots for this Houston Texans team. There was so much invested into the trade for Tunsil. The first round spent on Kenyon Green last year, the 2nd round spent on Juice Scruggs in this draft, the trade for Shaq Mason, the 1st round pick on Titus Howard. I think this is the year we see a very dominant Houston Texans offensive line, and I think we see a very dominant run game as well, led by Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary. 1A, 1B. With Dameon Pierce, you are expecting that breakout year. I am expecting 1,200 yards and 8+ touchdowns. I think he expects it as well. We saw him working out. He looks healthy. He looks leaner. He looks faster. And whenever Dameon Pierce has the ball in his hand, it's going to take more than 2 people to take his ass down. And then when he needs a break, Devin Singletary, who is maybe just as violent as him, maybe a little bit more speed, he is going to be the one who's taking the reps when Pierce is off the field. The pressure, how do I say it? The threat of the run game is going to consistently be there, because it wasn't. When you knew that Dameon Pierce was not on the field, Rex Burkhead didn't scare you. Derek Bungawale didn't scare you. Royce Freeman didn't scare you. Or you knew the Houston Texans were going to pass the ball. With Devin Singletary, this is a guy who's caught at least 30 balls in the past 3 years. He is another weapon for CJ Stroud. This running game is going to be absolutely deadly. Now, the tight end group is going to be led by your new tight end, Dalton Schultz, big-time playmaker. I could definitely see him being the leading receiver on this Houston Texans team. Many have him that as well. This is a guy who was a quarterback's best friend over there with the Dallas Cowboys, whether it was Dak Prescott, whether it was Cooper Rush. He seemed to be the main one and consistently making plays for that Dallas Cowboys. Excited to see what he could do here on the Houston Texans squad. And then second-year tight end Tegan Quitoriano showed flashes at the end of last year. This is a guy who a lot of people, shows some signs of, a Gronk. Can we see that? We need to see more of Tegan Quitoriano. Now, the wide receiving core, it is very interesting to me because I cannot give you a solid 1, 2, 3 depth chart. Here's who I think at the end of the year are going to be, the top 3 leading receivers for the Houston Texans. I think one of them is going to be Tank Dell, the guy who you just drafted. 10 touchdowns in his last 10 games, 17 scores overall for the University of Houston Cougars. A dynamic weapon. CJ Stroud told the Texans go up and get him, and they did that. He is going to be used on this squad. And then you talk about his playmaking in regards to special teams. Another guy I could see being a top receiver for this team is John Mechie. We are already hearing he was a full participation in OTAs, potential comeback player of the year. He should have been a first-round pick if it wasn't for the torn ACL. John Mechie is going to do great things here in Houston, and that's going to be a great weapon for CJ Stroud. And then the third receiver gets interesting because I want it to be Nico Collins. Can he stay healthy? I want it to be Robert Woods, but with the new youth and these new slot guys, I don't know. But what I do know is he's going to give you a full 17 games, much like what he did last year. Where he ends up in terms of receiving yards, I'm not quite sure. Xavier Hutchinson, a lot of people are calling him the steal in the draft, the Nico Collins outside receiver replacement. So there is going to be a lot of competition for that third receiver spot. We haven't even talked about Noah Brown, who we just signed from the Dallas Cowboys. So this wide receiving group definitely needs some more help. I hope they go out there and get a veteran, maybe someone who's on the market. Maybe we'll even trade for one, try to get DeAndre Hopkins back. That would be absolutely crazy. But nonetheless, I think this Houston Texans offense is going to have some firepower behind it. I think it's going to be exciting. And when you have that Shanahan system, good things can happen. You guys let me know how you feel about the Houston Texans potential starting offense. Go Texans. You guys have a very blessed day.